Randy Miller, Roche Realty Group in Meredith, New Hampshire. I'm out here on a 61 acre parcel in Sanbornton. I'm on the class 6 section of the road right now. It runs along the entire southern border of the property. There's actually two parcels. One 11 acre parcel with frontage on Old Range Road, all the way along the southern border, and as well as the 50 acre parcel, which also along the entire southern border. At this point, it's a class 6 road. However, up to the property, it's class 5 and town maintained. So it is plowed by the town, maintained by the town, as far as the property boundary goes at the on that corner of the 11 acre parcel. So I'm just starting down a trail it's just kind of a nice little trail that walks through the property. I'm on the beginning side, so the roadway's right here. That's Old Range Road, the class 6 section part of it. Once you get down into the 50 acre parcel, there's this little opening here. I have a little sign out there on the road that kind of points in here. And what I've done is I've put some orange paint on the trees so you can kind of follow it around back to the cemetery, the old homestead foundations. There's a few of them there, and there's supposedly a well. I haven't found the well yet. I've looked around, but there's a cemetery with some old headstones, very, very interesting stuff. And the other foundations that are there, looks probably a barn house, sheds, probably had some livestock. This was back in the 1800s, so it's been quite some time. It's really hard to tell what was there, but there's some objects around. It's kind of neat. And I'll kind of show you that as we go through, but I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here in just a moment. So as you can see, as you come on, you'll see just a little orange paint here that I've sprayed on the trees. And that, if you come out here taking a look at the property and I'm not with you, totally fine to do so. But just so you can kind of find your way around. If you're really comfortable in the woods, you can kind of go anywhere you like. It's just, I did this for people that aren't necessarily comfortable hiking through the woods without some kind of guidance. So this was just what I did for those folks. But if you do take a look at it, you can kind of see that it's very open. There's some massive white pines in here. The canopy is very mature. This hasn't been cut to anyone's knowledge in over 50 years, maybe longer. I'm not sure beyond that point, but it's just an absolutely fantastic hiking property. I've been able to get my side-by-side. I have a 50-inch side-by-side. It's narrower than some of the bigger ones, but purposely bought it that way so I could get into tighter spaces. I can't get down this trail here, but on the other side, there's actually a wider trail, and we'll get there eventually, but just so you kind of have an idea what it looks like in here. So yeah, this goes down from this point. It does slope down over here towards the stream that comes through off of the beaver pond, so-called because there's a massive, probably 100 yards or more beaver dam that has created this really beautiful pond. And so it brings you down to the to a stream. It comes down into a stream, and in fact, I'm going to kind of hike down here right now. It's right down the way here, and it's really a pretty stream. So let's take a look at it. This is just a little pathway that will bring us right down to the water. It's really beautiful. The whole setting here is very peaceful, and I'm gonna just shut up now and let you guys kind of hear the sounds. I do want to point out that this is not on the the marked trail that I made. The orange trail does not come down here. This is a little sidebar. If you want to come down here, if you're comfortable doing it alone, more than welcome. Again, if you want assistance, I'm happy to come help you walk it as well. Here's actually, here we go. I just stumbled upon the, I believe this is the corner boundary for the 11-acre parcel. And so one of the things about this property is that the pond is actually not on the property. It's on another property that's not owned by this seller. It is a beautiful feature to have next to the property. That stream does definitely go across the property itself. Okay, so we're still kind of heading in the north direction. That's mostly how the trail goes up into about this point, where we're going to make a little bit of a turn here in just a moment. The trail's actually right there, but you know, the way the trees are opened up, it's easier to kind of cut this way, because there is actually another trail that leads off that direction that you can go down to. It heads out to the rear of the lot. Very nice hike, very peaceful. But yeah, so we're going to cut this way and head towards the cemetery and the old foundations. One of the coolest things about this property, especially if you're an outdoorsy person, obviously you can hunt out here. It's lots of hunting area. There's some wetlands, you know, ponds and such throughout the property. You know, it's 61 acres. There's going to be some peaks and valleys. Even a relatively flat lot has some undulation to it. You know, there's some stones around, and you can see there are some rock walls throughout the property. There's one right over here, you know, that threw out. So there's some stone around, but it's not really too stony. This is a new feature. This tree fell. So since the last time I was here, this has fallen across the pathway here. It's pretty easy to get over, but we had some pretty heavy storms come through. We had a hurricane come up this way, but if you live around the area, you know it was not even much of a rain event. Actually, it scooted to the east of us, and we were on the very edge of the outer bands, so we didn't really get a lot of impact from that. But as you look around, you can see it's not a bony lot. It's very free of stone. You can see stones here and there, but they're not very intrusive at all. So the cemetery we're kind of coming up to now, you can see the rock wall and straight ahead of me here, and I'm going to put it on pause here, and then we'll take a look at that in just a moment. So here's the cemetery. It's not a huge plot, but it's a good sized plot, especially for the day. The headstones are all from the mid 1800s. Many of them have descriptions on them. Some of them are blank. Usually not a awesome story attached to those ones, but there are several headstones in here. Some are elaborate, some are very basic, vary in year. The only thing I ask is if you come out here and you want to take a look at them, you're free to do so. Just please be very respectful. There was a flag actually planted out here at one point. It looked a little bit old, but you know, so somebody's come out here and planted a flag, which is, you know, nothing inappropriate about that at all. A lot of people will do that on Memorial Day. They'll find old cemetery plots and plant flags. So just kind of heading away from the cemetery now. Gonna go down to the foundations. There's a neat little pond next to where one of the foundations is. I'll kind of show you that as we get down here, but let me flip the camera around so you can kind of see what I'm seeing. So this is the area where the pathway is definitely wide enough to get you could probably get a 4-wheel drive truck through here, really. It'd be tight, but you could do it. But a side-by-side, ATV, anything like that would easily get down this part of the pathway. So there's a little pond down there. And then here, as you can kind of see the backside of one of the foundations. Now, this looks probably like it was a barn of some sorts. It has a nice foundation through here. You've got the pond right back here. Looks like somebody has made their way down to the pond here. But there is kind of an opening on the other side, which makes me feel like it probably was a barn. There's something here. This one I'm unsure about. It looks like it might come to like here. Maybe the trees grew through and kind of pushed some of the rocks aside, but there's definitely was something there. It's a little bit smaller than the other buildings. This one's a pretty good sized building. So you've got, you know, all along here is the foundation, and then it comes across the backside over there to here, and then there's an opening, you know, that looks like an opening right here, and then that big stone right there is sort of the corner, and then it goes all the way back over to those big trees back there, and then, you know, back across what we just looked at. But kind of a neat feature to have on a property. And again, that little building that's right there, I'm not certain what that was, but then you have over here, all kinds of neat stuff here. Every time I come out here, I find something new. I've never seen this little bed frame here. This is really cool. Just old stuff, but partly rusted out, unfortunately, right there. But just a neat little find here. There's all kinds of metal stuff out here. There's the other post there. If you're into old metal collecting and stuff, I bet you there is a massive amount of treasures out here on this property. So we'll go look at that other big one you kind of just saw there in just a moment. But here's another one of those little, you know, not sure what these were. Maybe just storage for, you know, potatoes or onions. I don't know, something like that. It could be just a cold cellar for produce maybe. Another strap of metal, maybe a barrel ring that got crushed or something of that nature. But first we'll look at this from above here. So this is the old foundation of I believe this was the house, which, I mean, this also could have been a barn, but it's a rather large cellar hole here. You know, it just goes all the way across over there. I'm going to go down there and kind of peek around so you can see all kinds of stuff on the ground over there. I believe there's been people out here that have, you know, camped and hunted over the years that it's been here. No one's been given permission, but when you have an open piece of land like this and there's no trespassing signs and it's in current use, people will wander on and utilize it for their own purposes. And for the most part, they're very respectful. I mean, whoever this person was left some garbage back behind, but which is unfortunate, but you know, it's not the end of the world. Nothing that couldn't be cleaned up. Here's a neat shovel head, some rings here, more barrel rings. You know, here's an opening. We're gonna go up in there. I just want to look at this shovel. This is really cool. It's, boy oh boy, this thing's probably, I mean, I imagine it's at least 100 years old. I don't know. Pretty cool. The other side of the foundation. Now this is the end of the wall, so this might have been just shoring up that wall or something. I'm not certain about that, but and then we have, you know, again, every time I come out here I find something new. Before I go into the other the big cellar, I just saw another big rock wall over here that looks like and I finally found the well. Now this is a little dangerous. I definitely probably going to cover this up, but here's the dug well. Plenty of water in there. Not sure it's potable these days, but who knows? I don't think I'd stick a cup in there and take a big sip. But yeah, and another foundation. Now this also could have been a house, a bit smaller. So this, you know, for the era, this would make more sense as a house. Maybe that other thing was the big foundation over there's a barn. I'm just not certain. You know, there's there might be a way of telling, but you know, it's just one of those things. It's really hard to say unless you were there at the time, I guess. So if you do decide to come out here, I covered this up the best I could with some plywood and sticks that were around here. I tried to walk across it fine for now, but definitely be careful with something like that. Ground level, hard to see. Just don't want anybody getting hurt. But let's go take a look at this big foundation over here. This has all kinds of neat stuff in it. You know, the more I think about it, I bet this was the barn, as it's such a big foundation for a house of those days. It would have been rather unusual to have a cellar this big in a house this size back in the mid 1800s. Although there were some even bigger. So who knows? Here's a nice big wagon wheel. That's really cool. Just kind of trees growing through it. But yeah, that's a good size wagon wheel right there. I believe it's a wagon wheel. They usually wrap it around the exterior part of the wooden spokes to give it some more, you know, rigidity and strength. Have no idea what all this stuff is. All kinds of interesting apparatuses here. Hopefully it's not some torture device and I just walked into a dungeon. Who knows? But really kind of neat stuff out here. You know, unfortunately somebody left their water. Those are full. Didn't even drink them. You know, more what I believe are wagon wheels and a barrel ring there. You know, some clothes, whatnot. And then this, I don't know what in the world this is for. Maybe there was a fire pit or something, or maybe this went off somewhere. I have no idea, but there's a just a hole, like a little cave here in the corner. So I mentioned earlier about, you know, the part of the roadway that was wide enough to get a side-by-side down, maybe even a pickup truck, as I said. That's through here. We're on that section now. We're going to walk actually back that way. That's towards the old range road there. I just wanted to come over here and look at, there's a maybe some target practice there. Another little section built up here. I was thinking, yeah, this might be another foundation here for something. There's not much more to it. There is a little bit of a wall across there, but that's quite a space away from this one. This just kind of goes through here. So I'm not sure if maybe they were building another foundation or maybe a pen of some sorts for animals. But anyway, since there's no rocks out here, this is where they all are, I guess. So, and then we do have more rock walls over here. This is, again, we're getting towards the western boundary of the property. So, found another rock wall here that's pretty close to the boundary. I walked a little bit ahead of where I was just at a moment ago, and this is pretty close to the boundary here. And this makes a lot of sense. It kind of cuts over here. And so there's a little jot out that happens just on the tax map. You'll kind of see what I'm talking about on the west boundary. And as a matter of fact, here's some yellow paint that marks the boundary of the property along this boundary line. And this actually goes to this corner, and then this corner right here goes that way. So this over here, beyond these yellow markers on these trees, that's actually somebody else's land. But then on the other side of that rock wall, it's back onto this land. Even though it kind of extends that way, this goes back that way and then to the rear of the lot. It's just a little cutout that you can kind of clearly see it on the on the tax map. So this was surveyed not that many years ago. The survey is in the listing packet, so you can see that easily. And so this rock wall is the west boundary of the property. You know, and just like everywhere else on the property, I mean, it's so easy to walk through here. There's very little underbrush. It's been probably, like I said, more than 5 decades since this was cut at all in any significant manner anyway. But you can kind of see the rock wall again speckling through here. Is a little clearing on the making it a little sunny there, but yeah, what a gorgeous property this is. I mean, if you're looking for something recreational, it's fairly level. There's some high peaks and valleys, so to speak, some undulation to the land, but for the most part, it's relatively level, especially on the interior part of it. And there's some wetlands and ponds throughout the property. Nothing of real significance, but you know, if you were going to build out here, there would be more than enough places to find a place to put a septic in. But man, what a great place. And so continuing on, this is an interesting little, this was from the Timber Cruise, I believe, which was done just several years ago. That's also in the listing packet as well. For current timber values, there is a website, part of the, it's actually a state website that gives current timber values. You can check that out. But the there's a lot of timber value out here. I would never assume to know exactly how much. I'm not a timber guy. I work with a lot of timber people, but not my expertise. I certainly wouldn't want to represent something that's not true. But this is a little bit of a wetter area here. It's not bad. It's just a little stream that kind of cuts through from off property and goes off into the other stream that's ultimately down there. I'm going to actually cut back that way so you can see that as well. I'm almost to the front of the property here. Yeah, it's a little still right now. But when it rains, especially this year, I'm sure this moves pretty fast. But yeah, so that right there, that rock wall is the front of the property. That's Old Range Road again. This is the very corner of the property. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but there's some yellow markers on that tree there. And again, those go, you know, there's one on that one, and that just goes along the whole western boundary of the property. Okay, so just made it back to the little roadway. Again, this water, just for your knowledge, there's no culvert here. That water, when it does run off, it comes down here and it does cross over the roadway here and then continue on. And again, it keeps going down all the way to that stream we saw earlier, is ultimately where it ends up. And so, you know, that does cut through. Okay, so just made it back to the little roadway. Again, this water, just for your knowledge, there's no culvert here. That water, when it does run off, it comes down here and it does cross over the roadway here and then continue on. And again, it keeps going down all the way to that stream we saw earlier, is ultimately where it ends up. And so, you know, that does cut through. I would recommend, I'm not certain why, or maybe there is a culvert under here that's just full of mud. I really don't know. There is something under here running, but you know, something that would probably have to be redone or put in one or the other. A 10-inch or, well, I'd probably go with a 12-inch culvert, plastic double corrugated walls. You know, you'd only need like probably 12 feet of it. You know, they don't give it away, but it's not super expensive. And I don't know, you'd probably want a little mini excavator to get that dug out, but you could probably do it by hand if you were ambitious. It's not a huge looking project. So yeah, this is the pathway. Now we're kind of running somewhat parallel to Old Range Road. We're going to end up actually coming out about 10 feet or so from where we went in earlier in the video. So again, if I've been kind of walking by them, but if you haven't seen these orange markers on the tree. There should be on all the trees leading you out of this pathway here, right back to Old Range Road. And again, it's about 10 feet or so, maybe 20, I don't know. From where we entered into the property, we made kind of a big loop to get back to the cemetery, the foundations, and then of course back down this roadway here. Just to recap, the sidebar we took down to the stream there, that was off of that trail. So if you are looking for that, that is not on the marked trail. It's you'd have to take a little sidebar, and it's somewhat in the beginning of of the trail. It's I'd say a couple hundred yards in. You should be able to take a right turn and walk down to that river and follow it around. So, but we're gonna come out here. A little wet in the beginning of this thing. It's again the rain this year, something else. But yeah, so this is looking back up Old Range Road. You know, a relatively good clearance pickup truck could easily get back here. I've had my side-by-side down here. This is an ATV trail. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier. I kind of forget. Sometimes I just rattle along and forget what I say and repeat myself. But this is an actual ATV trail. It marked on the ATV network. If you go looking like Onyx Off-Road or anything, it should be on there. It's also one of the main snowmobile trails. If you wanted to build on the back parcel, the easiest way to do it would be to utilize this roadway. You'd have to do some improvements. You know, I'm not certain about, every town has a different take on utilizing Class 6 roads to build off of. I'm not certain about Sanbornton, if they allow it or not. I'd have to double check with the town. But you could improve the road up to where that driveway is, that little pathway rather, entering the property, and utilize that to get out to that back parcel. You know, usually the hang up is they want to be able to get emergency vehicles back in to your property, which is why they generally frown upon building on a Class 6 road. But, you know, some towns allow it. They just make you sign a waiver of liability, and, you know, you can do kind of what you want. If you didn't mind having the roadway be a little rough, you know, it wouldn't be too bad. So this is an interesting sign of, every time I come out here, something new. Heritage, not entirely certain what that is. Maybe that's a trail name or something. There is a trail here that cuts through this. I believe that's somebody else's property. I'd have to check my map again to verify that, but you know, some people are quite open to having ATVs and snowmobiles cut through their properties. You know, some people really enjoy it. Others not so much. Always good to be respectful, of course. But yeah, so that is that's definitely a horse. So this would actually be really good trail riding here for horses. If you were into equestrian of any sorts, this would be an amazing property for that. They could go around in the property pretty easily. Lots of trailways for them. But yeah, we're just up the hill there in the clearing that you can see is the corner where it goes from Class 6 to Class 5 on the lot. And you can kind of see, I mean, these trees in here, this one's definitely not alive anymore, but this guy right here, I mean, holy smokes, look at the size of this white pine. I mean, it just goes and goes, and it is, I mean, I'll stick my hand on it so you can kind of get at least some of a picture. But I mean, it's it's fairly thick piece of lumber right there. I'm going to kind of walk through from here This is, again, it's pretty easy. Now we're on the east side of that stream, walking through the property, and a lot of the same. You know, it's easy to walk through. There's not much in terms of resistance from underbrush or anything. It's a little tricky getting down to the river. It does thicken up a little bit down there, but you know, it's doable. The stream's really pretty. I mean, I'll tell you, properties like this are not easy to come by, that just have been untouched for so long, that you have a mature canopy like this. Okay, made it down to the back to the beaver dam. This is it's heavy grass and everything. I wouldn't say it's solid below my feet, but it's not very mushy. It's, you know, you can walk on it. I wouldn't have bare feet, but he just found the river. But I was here in the early spring, went before the black flies and all that. All this grass was laid down. It was pretty thick. I wasn't really sure about going over this little stream because I didn't know what I'd run into on the opposite side, but it's fairly solid. Found a spider web. This is one of my favorite spots on this whole property. This is so amazing. And actually, as we were talking earlier, we're actually just at the property boundary here. The beaver dam is actually on the other property. We're right on the border, really. But I would, especially this time of year, I'd have me a hammock right here. This is like absolutely stunning. Just very, very, very peaceful. These beaver are just absolute engineering marvels. It just blows my mind how big this beaver dam is. I mean, we were on the other side of it earlier. It goes all the way over to the embankment over there. I don't want to really disturb it too much. I'd feel terrible if I did something that actually pulled it down or something. So I want to not get too close to it, but what a beautiful, beautiful sight. This is downstream from the beaver dam. It just kind of goes off. It narrows out until it's back into the forest where we were just at moments ago. And then of course all the way to where I crossed the road there. You know, just really, really such a neat thing to have on your property. All of this from here on out is all part of the property. So we're actually heading back towards the there's a right of way that goes up the eastern boundary of the property, that gives access to a couple homes back there, and another property that's also the part of the snowmobile and ATV trail. That's the part of the ATV trail that is, when we were going down Old Range Road on the Class 6 section, when it gets to the Class 5 section, that's that left turn I was referring to, is taking it back onto the right of way, and that actually goes through another person's property, and it's quite a big loop. I don't remember the mileage. It's actually a pretty fair bit of distance that you can ride ATVs out here. I do see them from time to time, and I see tracks, so it is used. If it's not something you're into, you know, you may hear some noise from them. I don't want to pretend that they're all really quiet or anything, but if you are into ATVing, this is an amazing property to have access directly to the trail, as well as the snowmobile trail in the winter, which is, again, that's a huge beneficial feature. All predictions say that we're going to have a heck of a snow year this year, so let's all cross our fingers, because last year was terrible. Didn't start snowing till like, I don't know, mid-February or almost March. And then the ski resort closed just a month and a half later. So really not the best year in the world. You know, many predictions say we're going to have a colder and snowier year than we've had in a long time. And, you know, sorry if you don't like the cold. And I'm not a big fan myself, but if I'm going to live here in the winter, I want snow so I can enjoy it. That's just a part of living in New England, you know, is you get the beautiful summers and then you get the snowy winters, and you just get to enjoy it all. Whoop. Okay, so made it back out here. You might hear my dog in the background. He's quite upset with me because I made him sit in the van while I finished this video. But he's not only exhausted, but there's also another dog in the neighbor's yard, and I don't want him chasing that dog down. He sometimes gets a little excited. But I'm just gonna walk down this pathway here. So this is this is actually a right-of-way, not a road. It services a few homes back this way. And then there's, this is also, as I mentioned earlier, this is also an ATV trail, and I believe a snowmobile trail as well. Although the snowmobile trail follows old Range Road from all the way across the Class 5 section back to the Class 6 section on the other end of the road, on where it turns and goes out towards the main road. But there's power right on the lot side. So this is a right-of-way. You would have access to this as well. It is part of the of being down here. Although you wouldn't really need it, because you could come right off of Old Range Road at the corner there. And as discussed earlier, there is, you know, you would probably have to upgrade that Class 6 section of the road to get to the rear parcel off the roadway. You could technically build your own roadway through the 11 acres and across the stream, but that would probably be very expensive, a lot more expensive than just upgrading that Class 6 portion of the road. But it would require approval by the town and all that. So something you definitely would want to look into before committing to that. Although this 11-acre parcel is very nice, would be a lot easier to build here and then just use that 60 acres in the rear as recreational land. Because the power, again, it's right here at the road, you know, and there's plenty of space here on this parcel to build. You know, as far as views or anything, you know, there's some undulation on the lot. You know, you do have some slope here and there, but you'd have to clear a tremendous amount of trees to get any potential view. And I just don't think that there's enough space to have any kind of a significant view. But you can kind of see we're cutting back to the edge of the property. Now the boundary, I couldn't find it when I looked before. I've looked a couple of times. It really should be somewhere along this area here. I don't think this fella here cut right to the boundary corner. It's just, it could be literally anywhere in this area. I think he left a little bit of a buffer with the trees when he cleared this little, just a small area. It's not a big clearing, but so there is somewhere. Here's the little ATV trail sign here. But then again, that goes back down this way out, and there's some fields out there and everything. But I try not to get too many, you know, private property, you know, people's homes and stuff like that in my videos, just for out of respect for their privacy. But there are a few, you know, homes on the opposite side of this right of way from the property. Not a lot. There's, I think, 3 over here, and there's one on the corner, and then there's one on the opposite side as well. All very well maintained, nice homes. You know, looks like they take pride in their property, and so you know, no worries about building amongst you know, junkyards or anything like that. But and as you look into the property, you know, again, it's really full of these just massive you know, white pines that are just tall, straight. I mean, there's just got to be an absolute load of board feet here in lumber. There are some hardwoods as well. Plenty of hardwoods throughout the property. If you wanted to cut some down for some timber, for, you know, wood, burning in a wood stove, making a fire pit, you know, whatever. You could do a lot. There's a lot of trees here to work with. This does slope down here, more so in the rear here than up front. I'm going to kind of go back. I was just going along this roadway so you could see that. And then, you know, we're heading back to the corner again here. Somewhere right in here, this is a little thicker here on the edge. There's like a little embankment here, but there actually is power right on the property side of the road. And so there's plenty of access to power. You know, there's so much land here. Getting a septic field in should be absolutely no problem. There are, obviously, as we've saw throughout the property, there's some wetlands, but there's also a lot of dry, you know, very good soils as well. And so, yeah, this is one of my favorite properties, and it's been sitting for a while. I'm honestly surprised by that. But hopefully now that you've been able to kind of look at it yourself through my eyes, we've walked around and you've seen it, that you like it.